July is Client Appreciation Month at Sport Clips Haircuts. Get a double MVP for the price of an MVP, or cool it down and try the MVP on ice. It's our way of saying thanks for all you do. Hurry, ends July 31st. Sport Clips. It's good to be a guy.
The NL East leading Nationals go head-to-head with the Dodgers, who sit high atop the NL West.
Gone! A solo shot for Harper.
The pregame is Saturday at 3 Eastern on ESPN Radio and ESPNRadio.com. This is the Best of Mike and Mike podcast on ESPNRadio.com. The Best of Mike and Mike.
Hey everybody, it's Ryan Ruocco, Tim Kurkjian and I filling in for Greeny and Golic on today's Best of Mike and Mike podcast. Here's what we've got for you from Friday. Michael Collins, very animated and energetic, joining us from St. Andrews to talk Tiger speed and all things from the Open Championship. Tim is a self-proclaimed stupid hypothetical question that we just absolutely love. Very special editions of Next Question and Love It or Shove It. Plus, we talk with the talented Houston Astros shortstop, Carlos Correa.
The Best of Mike and Mike.
Hi, Ryan Ruocco, Tim Kurkjian with you. In for the guys on Mike and Mike, presented by Progressive Insurance. All of our guests coming to us via the Subway Fresh Take hotline, like Astros shortstop Carlos Correa, one of the best young players in the bigs, will join us at 9:30 Eastern. The Open Championship going on right now. You can watch on ESPN as well as watch ESPN. Jordan Spieth shoots a 5 under yesterday. In his first round, Dustin Johnson, your leader after one round, 7 under. And the action delayed 3 hours because of rain earlier. That SportsCenter brought to you by JCPenney, the men's store at JCPenney. Styles that are sure to fit every guy's look and budget, like Stafford, Jay Farrar, and Van Heusen, all available at JCPenney. Continue to send us in questions for Tim. We're getting overloaded with Ask Tim questions. I mean, terrific questions, setting up the second half of the baseball season, and some great questions about Tim. We have some fun questions for Tim coming up in a very special edition of Next Question shortly. But want to get to our MVP Play of the Week, brought to you by Sport Clips. You watch sports, we cut hair. It's perfect. Sport Clips, it's good to be a guy. Tim, as you think back on the All-Star game Tuesday night, what was your MVP play or plays?
Well, Ryan, when I think of a play, I always think it's got to be a defensive play. And the play that Jose Iglesias made, the Tigers shortstop, he went to his left, backhanded the ball, threw off balance across the field, one hopped at the first. It was just fantastic. That kid is so good. Omar Vizquel has the greatest hands I've ever seen in my entire life. Ozzie Smith is the greatest shortstop I've ever seen. But this kid is not too far behind those guys. And that play made in the All-Star game was befitting of that. Also, Mike Trout, of course, hit a very difficult pitch for a home run to start the game off of Zach Greinke, who had gone 35 and 2/3 innings without allowing a run. The last run he gave up was on June the 13th, and Mike Trout, being Mike Trout, opened the All-Star game with a home run off of him. Also, Jacob deGrom struck out the side on 10 pitches in the All-Star game. No one's ever done that in an All-Star game. And then, of course, in the ninth inning, Aroldis Chapman came in and just blew people away at 102 and 103 miles an hour, always reminding me that somebody asked me at my advanced age, how do you think you would do in 100 at-bats against Aroldis Chapman? Are you kidding? First off, I wouldn't make contact, obviously, in 100 at-bats.
You don't think you'd nick one pitch foul?
No, and here's what would happen. Okay. He would sense how overmatched I was, and my fear also, and he would buzz the tower with the first pitch, and then I would not take part in any at-bat after that because he would scare the life out of me. That's how good the pitching is today. And by the way, 24 strikeouts in the All-Star game. The American League struck out 15 times, and they won the game, Ryan. So this year, counting the All-Star game, we've had 14 games where the winning team struck out 15 times. Think about that.
Wow.
Now, that happened exactly 14 times from 1900 to 1950 combined. So we've had as many times that a team struck out 15 times and won the game as we had for the first 50 years of Major League Baseball. That's the era we're in now. Absolutely dominant, overpowering pitching with the strikeout rate going completely through the roof. So it was perfect that it happened also in the All-Star game.
I mean, that is a fascinating number. And watching DeGrom, watching Chapman, to me, there's nothing better than watching somebody just dominate, overwhelm, especially when they have an incredible heater, and that's what we saw from DeGrom, who I think's first 8 pitches were fastballs, and Chapman was able to just hump it up at 103 consistently. But, when we think about sports and what fans want, in the NFL we always say, oh, this rule change, that rule change, but it's okay because more scoring is better, right? When people talk about, well, why isn't there more interest around soccer, although it's growing and growing now in this country? Well, because people want scoring, and there's not enough of it, right? I wonder, do you think that at some point, if the pitching is this dominant, and with what we see with specialized relievers, right? I mean, the Yankees, the way they build their pen with Dellin Betances and Andrew Miller and Justin Wilson and Adam Warren, or if you're the Royals and you have your big three at the back end, which has been lights out back-to-back years now, where a game is only, maybe 6 innings, and that's if you're only pitching those guys 1 inning. At some point, does pitching become so dominant that there needs to be something to help infuse more offense into the game?
Well, we're not there yet, because what we're still doing is remembering the way the game was played during the steroid era, when it became a slow-pitch softball game, especially the 99-2000 seasons. It was ridiculous. Keep this in mind. In 1999, a team scored 20 runs in a game 9 different times in one season, 20 runs. It happened 6 times during the decade of the 60s. By all teams, 6 times in 10 years. Then it happened 9 times in 1 year. That was the height of the steroid era, the height of the greatest offensive era ever. And now we're comparing everything to that, which we shouldn't. And we shouldn't compare to 1968, which was, of course, the year of the pitcher. We're somewhere in between that now, but we're certainly closer to 68 than we are to 99. To answer the question, I happen to think we're okay where we are right now. We're not to the point where nobody hits home runs anymore.
Right.
We had 3 homers in the All-Star game. What happens is when the pitchers locate properly with the stuff they have, there is nothing the hitters can do. This is what Joe Madden has been telling me for years now. He says all this data that we get on the pitchers and the hitters, it doesn't do the hitter any good to know what that pitcher might do, because if he executes that pitch properly, they have no chance to hit him, which we saw in the All-Star game. But if you miss location, Andrew McCutchen has taken you in the upper deck, as he did in the All-Star game. If you miss by this much, Mike Trout takes a ball that most people foul off, and he hits it down the right field line for a homer off of Zach Greinke. So I'm still okay with the game being played and the number of runs being scored. The strikeout rate, though, has got to be changed because it's completely out of control.
Ryan Ruocco, Tim Kurkjian, in for the guys here on Mike and Mike, presented by Progressive Insurance. Open Championship going on right now on ESPN as well as Watch ESPN. I want to welcome in ESPN golf analyst Michael Collins joining us on the Subway Fresh Take Hotline. Get to Subway for the new turkey and bacon guacamole today. Subway, eat fresh. Michael, one of the questions that Tim and I were trying to grapple with is, why is Tiger performing so poorly? So we'll ask that to you. Just why is he performing this badly?
Well, it's a mental thing. And the guy that we see on the practice range is not the guy that we see on the golf course. The guy that we see playing practice rounds, not the guy we see on the golf course. And the other time where it's a little bit different is when it doesn't matter. When he's out of contention, he plays fantastic, which is why everyone got lulled into that false sense of security at Greenbrier. Hey, look how good Tiger's playing. Bogey-free in the last round. Shot in the 60s a whole bunch of times. Yes, but he wasn't in contention. It didn't matter. That's easy to do. What Tiger is right now is a regular tour pro who's awesome on the driving range and then can't take what he does on the driving range or during practice out onto the golf course, which is why most golfers on the PGA Tour have sports psychologists, because they're all crazy, and that's what makes them crazy. Why can't you do what you do during practice and practice rounds during a real round when it matters? And that's what we see, especially in majors, out of Tiger right now.
Now, Michael, as far as any hope for him bouncing back, I know yesterday he talked about, well, maybe with poor weather he could come back and have a strong second round, and that's sometimes where you make up ground. Do you believe there is any hope that he gets himself back into contention?
In contention to win? No. No, that'd be ridiculous. There's no chance of that whatsoever. Too many. And here's the thing. What does that tell you when even Tiger Woods is saying, well, I need other people to have bad things happen to them in order for things to maybe work out for me? I mean, does that sound like the old Tiger Woods? A guy who's confident and going to go out there and just take it? No. This is a dude that used to go out and take it. I said it before. This is Superman. We're used to seeing Superman, but now he's Clark Kent getting beat up in the parking lot by an old lady.
Michael, this is Tim Kurkjian. Can you explain to us what we're seeing with Jordan Spieth? The guy is 21 years old. How, as a former caddy yourself, how can you explain how he can be this good at such a young age?
Timmy, two things. One, I wish I could do the Baltimore accent to get you laughing like Van Pelt and Russillo always used to do, because I love you, man. And number two, I can explain how Jordan Spieth is doing it if you can tell me when the Phillies are going to be good again, because I'm not coming home from Scotland until I know. But no.
You better extend that passport, Michael. Believe me. Sorry.
I might have to get a work visa because I'm going to be a while, is what you're saying?
Yes.
That's a shame. Jordan Spieth has the exterior look of a 23-year-old guy, except for maybe his hair. His hair looks like it's 40, 42. But his thought process, he's a killer on the golf course, a stone-cold killer. When he gets up near the top of the leaderboard, he is that combination of when you see someone start getting a little bit wobbly, maybe off the tee, or not scoring fantastic, he finds a way to grind. And when's the last time that you could say we saw a guy when he absolutely positively had to make the 10, 15, 8-footer to save par? It was dead center at perfect speed every time. Jordan Spieth doesn't wow you off the tee because he doesn't bomb it. But around the greens, when he has to get up and down, when that you think the only shot to get it close is the miracle shot, this is the kid that can pull it off. And he's been doing it for a long time. And I think at first no one was intimidated when he doesn't overpower golf courses. What are we worried about him? Until crunch time. And when crunch time happens, this dude will step on your neck with them spikes. And you think to yourself, he's smiling and waving at people. What? And everyone's laying under him. Just
We're talking with ESPN golf analyst Michael Collins, joining us on the Subway Fresh Take Hotline. Michael, do you believe that Dustin Johnson, if he keeps playing like this, he is going to be haunted by what happened on 18 at the U.S. Open?
No, not even a little bit. And it was gone from him when he walked off the green and grabbed that baby. You could see it in his face. You could see that the disappointment in his face when he was shaking hands on the green. But as soon as he walked over and saw that baby looked at him. The baby don't know what he did on the golf course. And there was a realization in his eyes, too, that, you know what, this trophy is better than that trophy. I'm still getting paid, and I'm still young enough to play well. And we see the residual here at the Open in round one, and where his game is still there. And I think the only thing that worries me about Dustin Johnson, it doesn't even have to really do with majors. It's in golf tournaments on a whole. When he has 2 or 3 bad holes, his old MO was to just go, I'm done. And he would check out mentally. He'd be like, wait a minute, we still got 13 holes to play. Hey, you got 13 holes to carry the bag because I'm done. I'll walk around with you. That's about it. But I'm anxious to see a guy who went bogey-free in round one, in not necessarily bad conditions, but not perfect conditions. What does he do after he makes a bogey or two in round two? Because at some point he's going to make a bogey or two, and I want to see his gumption after that. And that's the thing that worries about me. But I don't think that has to do anything with being in a major. I think if he gets in position on Sunday, and if it's him and Jordan Spieth coming down the stretch and he's flying it over all the bunkers and only has wedges in, I don't think for a second that he's going to be standing over a 4-footer going, don't think about the U.S. Open. That's not in his MO.
Michael, tell us how difficult that course will play today in the wind and the rain with those ridiculous bunkers and all the pressure. How hard is that course going to play today?
It was underwater this morning. I've never seen St. Andrews underwater. and the winds were whipping. Now, the irony is the worst of the winds were forecast this morning, and right now the rain has stopped, and it had been forecast to go through almost noon over here. And, you know, it has stopped, and the sun came out. The winds have lightened. We were supposed to get gusts around 35 and then up to 50, and none of that has showed up. But I think, Timmy, in these guys' minds, this is the thing, the beauty of St. Andrews. All you have to do is tell these guys, hey, man, the wind's coming. And it's like it's like walking through a haunted house. They're waiting for something to jump out and get them. So even though the course may look a little bit benign today, I think because the greens are going to be a little bit slower, the scoring's not going to be as good because they're waiting for that monster to jump out from around the corner, Mother Nature, and get them. And right now, she's just chill. Like, even Mother Nature's sitting back right now going, just, look at him scared. Look at him. Look at him all scared. Look at him.
Michael Collins, ESPN Golf Analyst. You can follow him on Twitter, at ESPN Caddy. Always entertaining and informative. Thank you very much, Michael.
Anytime, guys, anytime. And, Tim, I'm gonna get a work visa. So stay in touch with me and let me know when I can come home, because I'm not feeling good about my Phillies right now, brother.
Yeah, 2021. We'll see you then, okay?
I'll be in the retirement community. That'd be awesome.
That is Michael Collins joining us on the Subway Fresh Take Hotline. Does an outstanding job covering golf and is out covering the Open Championship. You could follow him on Twitter, at ESPN Caddy. All right, we have a very special edition of Next Question. We will get to that in just 30 seconds. But first, a word from AutoZone. There have been a lot of unbelievable performances over the years. You can think of a few buzzer beaters off the top of my head, or even a few putts on the 18th green. But they're not as impressive as the car batteries available at AutoZone. They have a whole lineup of batteries designed to handle tough weather conditions like the blistering summer heat. Each one is designed to be reliable and dependable, so you're never left stranded. No matter what you drive, you can find a long-lasting, reliable battery at AutoZone to keep your car at peak performance. So get in the zone, AutoZone. Little Jay-Z Tom Ford here. Ryan Ruocco, Tim Kurkjian with you. In for the guys on Mike and Mike, presented by Progressive Insurance. So, Tim, we have a special edition of Next Question planned for you. You ready?
Yeah.
All right. Well, we'll start you off with an easy one, all right? Maybe not so easy, but where do you think Cole Hamels ends up after the trade deadline?
He's going somewhere, Ryan. The Phillies have been going through this for long enough. I'm going to guess that he's going to go to the Dodgers. The Dodgers have a sense of urgency to win here. Their starting pitching after Clayton Kershaw and Zach Greinke is a little iffy. They have all the money in the world. They have an urgency not just to make the playoffs, but to win the World Series. So I'm going to say there, but he's going somewhere. If it's not L.A., it's going to be the Cubs or the Red Sox or somebody, but it just doesn't help the Phillies to keep him around any longer when he can bring them what they need.
All right, next question. Of the 6 first-place teams at the break, which one won't be in first at the end of the season?
I'm going to say, all the National League teams are going to be there. The Cardinals, although the Pirates are really good. The Dodgers and the Nationals are going to be in first. I think the Angels are going to win. I think the Royals are going to win. I'm going to say the Yankees aren't going to win, but of course they have a chance in that division. There are 3, 4, 5 teams that can win. If Toronto goes out and makes a big deal and gets Johnny Cueto, they might be the team to beat in the East, and don't count the Orioles out either. But I like the looks of all of those first-place teams right now.
All right, the next question. Name the last 3 concerts that you've been to.
Well, I've only been to 2 in my life. I saw Dan Fogelberg when I was in college. That was about 100 years ago. And I saw Kenny Chesney at Syracuse when we dropped our daughter Kelly off for her freshman year. So I actually got to meet Kenny Chesney, which was really cool. He's about an inch taller than me, which was great. And we stood in the rain and listened to him play. Ryan, I don't know anything about music. I really stink at all things. I thought, for the longest time, I thought Leonard Skinner was one guy. Okay, I thought his name was like Len. It was like Leonard. I thought Jethro Tull was one guy. I later found out I was wrong about that. And I should never say this because it shows you how clueless I am. For a very short period, I wasn't sure if Kanye West was a man or a woman. But I figured out that he's a man. So I'm feeling really good about my music ability now.
You may not be the only person who felt that way. Next question. What movie do you quote the most?
I would say Airplane is the funniest movie I've ever seen, and there's still days where I quote that to my kids. We talk about that a lot. Princess Bride, we talk about that a lot at my house. Father of the Bride, I have a daughter. We talk about that a lot. So I would say those are the three movies that I talk about.
Are you a big movie quote guy, like in the flow of conversation?
Well, I'm not Adam Burke, but I like that. Parenthood, Searching for Bobby Fischer. These are some of my favorite movies, and I do know many of the lines from many of those movies, but I don't get to see many movies these days.
I quote Godfather all the time in conversation. I have to almost stop myself. If somebody says, "Can you do something?" and I can't, I'll always say, "Can't do it, Sally." What they say to Sal when they're to Tessio when they are they have to send him away.
When you found out this morning that I didn't see The Godfather from end to end until I was 54 years old, you were deeply disappointed.
I was, but you know what? I was disappointed, and then it was quickly resurrected because I thought, this man, he wasn't stubborn about it. He realized at 50, I need to make a change with my life, and that change is going to be seeing Godfather. I feel like some people would just continue on the path of stubbornness.
And boy, was it a great movie.
Awesome.
And the scene in the restaurant where Al Pacino shot the cop. Oh, my God. I had trouble sleeping after that. It was so intense.
I searched him. He's clean. Now it's terrific. So who would win, a baseball team of 9 Tim Kurkjians or a team of 9 Buster Onlys?
A baseball team with all me?
Yeah, that's right. Think about that. Think about people screaming, 2 out, 1 out. Think about Andrew McCutcheon doing the impression of the conversations around the infield.
Boy, that would be a bad baseball game if it's me against Buster. But, all right, I'm going to take me because Buster grew up on a farm, okay? He grew up.
He didn't have a glove on his farm?
He grew up milking cows, okay? And he grew up baling hay and stuff like that. And since I didn't do that, I'll put myself ahead of him in the baseball category. It would be a 0-0 tie, I'm sure.
Have you guys ever gone into the cages together?
I have not gone in the cages with Buster, but on my tiny athletic level, I can still throw a baseball. Thank goodness for that.
We may have to have Buster chime in on this. Next question, do you love anything as much as you love sacrifice flies?
My next book, which will be out in February, is scheduled to be called Fascinated by Sacrifice Flies. The thinking there is I am truly intrigued by sacrifice flies. I could go on and on, which I will not do. But I'm trying to show in this book, if you can be interested in sacrifice flies like I am, then I can teach you to be interested in all things baseball. That's kind of the idea of my next book, which comes out in February. There are a million. You can hit into a double play and get a sacrifice fly. You can reach base on an error and get a sacrifice fly. There are so many different layers to it, and I've examined all of them in one chapter of the book. It's not the entire book. It's not all about sacrifice flies. It's just one small chapter.
But then you don't love anything more than a sacrifice fly, it seems.
No, I love baseball in general more than anything. I love basketball second, and after that, I have no other hobbies. I have no other interests, and believe me, I stink at everything after that.
The best of Mike and Mike.
Mike and Mike.
Guys, at Sport Clips Haircuts, we appreciate everything you do. So this month, we're giving you double the Sport Clips MVP experience for the price of a single. It's the Sport Clips Instant Replay. After your haircut, go into overtime on our legendary hot towel treatment. Enjoy a double header of our massaging shampoo and soothing scalp treatment. And beat the heat with our new MVP on ice. Our legendary hot towel becomes the refreshing chilled towel at no extra charge. Sport Clips, it's good to be a guy.
The best of Mike and Mike. Mike and Mike. Mike and Mike.
When he's out of contention, he plays fantastic, which is why everyone got lulled into that false sense of security at Greenbrier. Hey, look how good Tiger's playing. Bogey-free in the last round. Shot in the 60s a whole bunch of times. Yes, but he wasn't in contention. It didn't matter.
That was Michael Collins earlier today, live from the Open Championship, which is going on right now on ESPN and Watch ESPN. You have 3 golfers tied at 7 under, including Dustin Johnson, who has not teed off the second round yet. He'll do so at 12:48 Eastern. Danny Willett, though, is your leader at 8 under. He is 2 under through 5 holes today, 8 under for the tournament. Jordan Spieth teeing off later today as well. He shot a 5 under first round. And that SportsCenter brought to you by JCPenney. The men's store at JCPenney, styles that are sure to fit every guy's look and budget, like Stafford, Jay Farrar, and Van Heusen, all available at JCPenney. I thought this was a great note earlier from Talal, our researcher filling in for Hembo. After Thursday, Jordan Spieth and Tiger Woods have played 19 rounds in the same tournaments this year. Spieth, 110 strokes better than Tiger Woods in those rounds.
That's stunning. That's over 5 shots per round, every round for almost 20 rounds. That's stunning how he could fall this far and somebody else can be that much better than him at this point.
It's unbelievable, but that's where Tiger is compared to where Spieth is at this moment. Ryan Ruocco, Tim Kurkjian, happy to be in on this Friday morning for Greeny and Golic on Mike and Mike. Now, Tim has been getting a lot of questions fired his way by me, by you guys with the hashtag #AskTim, which we'll be doing all morning long on the 1-800-Flowers.com Twitter feed. But, Tim, you now have a question that you've termed beyond stupid, but a hypothetical that you just need to ask that you want to send my
Okay,
way.
now you love basketball, and so do I. I love great shooters. Okay, God comes to you and says, okay, I'm going to give you 1 shot from the top of the key. If you make it, every shot you take for the rest of your life, you will make. Everything from like a couple feet beyond the NBA 3, you will make every shot for the rest of your life.
Like I heave it from half court, it goes in?
No, from 2 feet beyond the three-point line in the NBA, every shot from that point in, you will make every one of them, as long as it's not blocked, of course. But you will make every shot the rest of your life. But if you miss it, you will never make a shot the rest of your life of any distance at any point. So the first question is, are you, at age 28, going to take that deal that God has given to you?
Where I either make every shot for the rest of my life.
Or never make a shot.
Well, now, here's the question. By the way, I think it's fascinating that this is the kind of thing that runs through your
I
head.
have a lot of time on my hands. I have spend a lot of time by myself, and this is how things happen.
But now, can I translate this to the NBA? Because if I'm going to make every shot, all of a sudden I'm a valuable commodity to an NBA team, right?
Precisely. So the next question after you decide, am I taking the deal?
I'm taking the shot.
Okay, now, all right, if you make it, what do you do with it then? Now you have this skill at every shot that isn't blocked, of course, which means you have to get open enough in whatever game you're playing to get this shot off. What are you going to do with this skill? Because now you have something that even Steph Curry doesn't have. You are not going to miss a shot for the rest of your life. Are you going to try to play in the NBA?
I am.
That's what you're going to try to do.
I'm going to go try and play in the NBA. I'm going to try and be the first play-by-play / shooting guard off the bench in the NBA. Like, I'm going to call the game and then run onto the floor with a microphone and shoot at the same time.
How many minutes a game are you going to play in the NBA?
I probably am only good for like 12
minutes?
I would say. But they bring me in, when the offense is struggling a little bit, they need to space the floor. I have to be guarded. I am not going to be able to put it on the floor and get around anybody. I'm 5'10". People can block me. But as long as I can come off screens well and I have people who can put it on the money, I'm not missing. So all I have to do is heave it up. All I got to do is get the shot off.
Now, how are you going to convince an NBA team to put you on the 12-man roster? Is it just going to be you're going to go out with Greg Popovich and say, Pop, just throw it to me anywhere. I'm not going to miss no matter how many times. Is that how you're going to talk him into it?
You know what? I am going to say, put me on the court right now. Watch what happens. And I'm going to just take, 150 threes in a row. And they're all going in because I've already made this deal with God.
Right.
And I think Pop is going to say, you know what? We can find a place for you.
Now, who are you going to guard for those 12 minutes?
That's a great question.
Right.
I have to be in at the same 12 minutes that, like, Steve Novak's on the floor for the other team.
Right.
Otherwise, I am going to be, like, if you're asking me to chase well, let's say a guy like Ray Allen around screens, I'm done. I'm dead. There's no chance. I'm going to give up just as much as I'm going to get probably, and then I'm not useful. Maybe I'm the guy who is only used. Maybe it's not 12 minutes a game, Tim. Maybe I'm the guy who's on the bench just for a tie game late, or you're down 2 and you're drawing up a play just to give me an open shot because you know it's going in.
Right, and I think that's how it has to be, because eventually people are going to figure out that you have this skill, and they're going to start guarding you, and then you're going to be worthless because you're not going to get a shot off because an NBA player is going to be guarding you. But for the novelty of it at first, you could make some really big shots because people are not going to have a scouting report on you because you're not going to get in the game. Now, when we have a commercial coming up here, I want to know what happens if you miss the shot, because if you miss the shot, what happens then? Then the rest of your life you can't play. You will never play.
I become a pure distributor. I become Rajon Rondo.
So you're going to play an entire game, get the ball into the lane, kick it out to the wing, and not take a shot.
Yeah.
Nate McMillan had 14 assists with no points in an NBA game once.
I'm going to be
that's
Nate.
What you would be.
Yeah, I would be Nate. This is a fun hypothetical. I love it.
Mike and Mike.
This morning on Mike and Mike.
This is the first tournament that I've looked at a name other than Tiger.
When he's out of contention, he plays fantastic. What Tiger is right now is a regular tour pro.
This year, counting the All-Star game, we've had 14 games where the winning team struck out 15 times. Think about that.
Wow. Using the hashtag #AskTim.
I wasn't sure if Kanye West was a man or a woman, so I'm feeling really good about my music ability now.
Next question, do you love anything as much as you love sacrifice flies?
It's time for Mike and Mike on ESPN Radio and ESPN News.
And we found out, no, Tim Kurkjian does not love anything more than the sacrifice fly. Ryan Ruocco, Tim Kurkjian in for Greeny and Golic, having fun on a Friday morning. Hope you are too here on ESPN Radio and on your TV on ESPN News. Going to do some Love It or Shove It coming up shortly, and continue to send your questions in with the hashtag #AskTim. We're getting some terrific questions on Twitter on the 1-800-Flowers.com Twitter feed, @Mike and Mike, @Ryan Ruocco, @Tim Kurkjian. But Tim has just proposed what he said is a beyond stupid hypothetical question. But it's so funny. We have all just been talking about it through the break because it is actually a terrific question. Tim's scenario, if God said to you, you get one shot from the top of the key, you make it, you will never miss another shot in your life. You know,
from 2 feet beyond the NBA 3 on in.
Yes. You miss it, you will never make a shot in your life.
I'm surprised you took the yes. Because, again, you're going to have children someday and grandchildren, and your kids are going to say, Dad, come on out and teach me how to shoot. And you've missed the shot from the top of the key, and you're going to clang everything, and the kids are going to look at you like there's something wrong with you because you will never make a shot. Are you willing to deal with that?
See, now that is tough because I'm at least adequate enough when it comes to, you know, playing around, shooting around, whatever, playing pickup. I feel like, you know, I have decent ability for your average pickup player. So if I don't have that and my son or daughter's like, hey, Dad, let's play horse. I just lose? Like you
miss every. You don't just lose. You miss every shot, and that's something you have to factor in.
Yeah.
And at 28, I don't think you should take the bet. Now I'm different because I'm 58, and
right.
As much as I still love to play, if I took this and I made this shot, just imagine what I could do. Now the problem with me at 58 is I can't play in the NBA. That's obvious. I can't play in college. I'm too old and I'm too small. I would have trouble getting the ball across half court, even though I still play all the time, okay? But here's what I think I would do. And I couldn't go into a bar and just outshoot everyone every night because eventually I would make so much money, people would hate me, and they would want to kill me. So here's what I would do.
You need one big score.
Right, but here's what I think I would do. I would first quit my job. And then I would get in my car, and I would drive across the country, and I would find a different gym in a different state every night, and I would go in there, this 5'4.5", 58-year-old guy, and I'd go in there, and I'd take 300 shots and not miss one of them. And they'd all go, God, you're unbelievable. You coming back tomorrow night? And I say, I'll be back tomorrow night. And then I don't go back. I go to the next gym in the next state down the road, and they're going to be talking about me for like forever. Like, you remember that dinky little guy who came in here and never missed a shot and then disappeared and just vanished? That's what I would do, and then I would write a book about it when I was done with my trip across the country.
There is something a little twisted, though, about telling all of these people you're coming back and then never showing up, isn't it?
I would just want to make sure that nobody ever saw me twice, because if they saw me twice, they would think something is really weird. Because if you make 300 shots in a row, my friend Brian Maggott can make 300 shots in a row. He's the greatest shooter I've ever played with, but most people can't. And I think you would get yourself in some trouble. So the goal is to become a moving target. Just show up at a gym, never miss a shot, and move on, and do that in 50 to 100 gyms across the country.
That'd be pretty cool. Are you taking money from these people?
No, I don't want any money for this.
Wow.
I just want to leave the gym with those people looking at me like, God, that guy didn't miss a shot. Who is that guy? And then no one explains who he is.
What's going to happen to baseball tonight without Tim Kurkjian, though?
Oh, well, we'll do fine without me.
All right.
Yes.
All right, very good.
A lot of layers to this question, and clearly I've thought about this way too much.
And in your words, the legend of Dinky Tim. This is how you this is how you are describing what's going on here. I mean, this is just a terrific question, though.
Well, what if you're a grandfather? Like I will someday soon be. And
are you putting pressure on the kids?
No, they're fine. They're 24 and 21. We have plenty of time.
Okay, yeah, you may not want
So
to
the grandkids come over, and my daughter, who was a great high school basketball player, made 54 out of 56 free throws her senior year in high school. Missed 2 out of 56, by the way.
That's unbelievable.
So she brings over her kids and says, "Come on, let's go out in the driveway and shoot with Grandpa." He doesn't miss. And then Grandpa goes out and puts on a shooting display for his grandkids. That would be pretty cool.
You're the coolest grandpa on the block.
Ever.
Ever. You're right. You are. So what's at stake is either being the father who can't make a shot to save his life and can't show his kids hoops, or being the grandpa
who never misses,
who's just the man. You imagine that? You're just like, you could bring out a lounge chair, sit like 2 feet beyond the three-point line, and just have a cigar if you want one. You know, I mean, just nail them.
Right.
This
So
is
what,
great.
Ryan? I wouldn't take it if I were you. You have too much basketball left, and if you'll never make a shot the rest of your life, you can't play anymore. You just can't. You just can't show up if you can't make a layup.
This is a great tweet about this from Waldo Wilbur. He says, "This is White Man Can't Jump meets The Legend of Bagger Vance." That's exactly what it is. It's those two movies combined.
It's beautiful.
That's
Very
in
good.
Tim Kurkjian's mind. Ryan Ruocco and Tim Kurkjian with you here in for Greeny and Golic on Mike and Mike, presented by Progressive Insurance. All of our guests come to us via the Subway Fresh Take Hotline. You guys have that chance, like Waldo Wilbur, to chime in. And we remind you that if you want to get in touch with us, just tweet at Mike and Mike through the 1-800-Flowers.com Twitter feed. Celebrate birthdays, anniversaries, or even just because, visit 1-800-Flowers.com/ESPN for special deals on flowers and gifts starting at $29.99. Now, second half of the baseball season, earlier, Tim, you talked about focusing on seeing what the Twins are going to be able to do, the Astros, if they're going to be able to keep this up. Now, we've been asked this question, and it's a general one, but I don't think I've got your answer yet, so I do want to get it. Cesar Munoz tweeted in with the hashtag #AskTim. Who are your World Series favorites as we get ready to begin the second half of the season?
Well, at the beginning of the year, I picked the Nationals to play the Mariners in the World Series. Not looking too good on the Mariners right now, me and a whole bunch of other people. The beauty of baseball, of course, we can be this wrong halfway through the season.
Yeah.
I'm going to say at this point that the Cardinals, and there are 4 really good choices from the National League: Pittsburgh, St. Louis, the Nationals, and the Dodgers, especially if the Dodgers do something big. I think all 4 of them have real chances to go to the World Series. Not sure about the American League. Not sure at all. I'll pick the Royals for now because they have the best record, and their bullpen's that good, and their defense is that good. But I'll take the Cardinals and the Royals playing in the World Series at the moment, with the understanding that the trade deadline could change everything depending who gets Cole Hamels, and he's going somewhere, and who gets Johnny Cueto, because he's going somewhere.
The atmosphere at those games, if it was Cardinals, Royals, would be unbelievable. How many St. Louis fans do you think would be at Kauffman for those games?
Well, the Cardinal fans really travel well, but the Royals fans have just gone crazy, and it's great. It's so good to watch. Ryan, you weren't even born when the Royals were great in the mid-'80s.
That's why my father grew up with Dennis Leonard and my Uncle Joe. So I always used to hear about those Royals teams, but I didn't get to see any of those Royals teams play.
Right. I covered Dennis Leonard.
Yeah.
That's how old I am, okay? Kansas City was the place to be in the American League in the mid-'80s, and it returned last year. The atmosphere around that ballpark was just sensational.
It's also a beautiful ballpark.
It's a great ballpark.
Yeah.
It's a great baseball town. So the Cardinal fans would try to come over, but there's so many Royals fans there, they would say, look, you get your allotment of tickets. We're taking the rest. So I don't think there would be an overload of red there.
Who is maybe a name people haven't brought up that you think could move at the deadline? Who's a player of impact?
Well, I think the team we have to really watch is Padres. I picked the Padres to win the wild card and go to the playoffs, and they're 10 games out of first place and 8 games under 500. Could not have been more wrong, which means they might have to make a few deals if they continue to struggle, and that means maybe James Shields goes somewhere. I don't think so, but it's certainly possible. Maybe Craig Kimbrell goes somewhere. How about you as a Yankee fan adding Craig Kimbrell? Now you've got Miller or Betances in the 7th, Miller or Betances in the 8th, and Craig Kimbrell throwing 100 miles an hour in the 9th. Talk about a lockdown bullpen. That's what the Padres are a really interesting team here. But are they going to give up on this, hey, we're really good after only 5 months?
Is it only a one-year plan that they were going for?
Well, it's not. But the problem is they spent so much money and they gave up so many prospects. Are they going to look and say, all right, this didn't work, we have to recoup some of those young players? Or do they say, look, we're going to the end with this, we're going to get hot, and we're going to try to win?
You know, Edwin Villanueva tweeted at me and said, tell Tim your pitch, because he heard me say it the other day on my show on 98.7 FM ESPN New York about the Yankees and what they should do at the deadline. And I said, if you're going to make a move and you don't think you're going to get a starter of real consequence because it's going to cost too much, because that's probably what they would need is the third starter to go after Pineda and Tanaka, assuming they're healthy. I said, why not go with Aroldis Chapman? Try and get Aroldis Chapman, put him in the bullpen with Betances and Miller, and now in the playoffs, you're probably playing 6-inning games because between the three of them, you can get 12 outs between the three of them with the off days you have in the postseason. But I don't know what it would cost for Chapman, but a free agent after next year, right? Is it a possibility?
Well, it's a possibility because the Reds are probably thinking about all sorts of possibilities. My guess is Chapman's going to stay, Cueto's going to go. I think Jay Bruce might get traded. I think Mike Leake might get traded. But I think Chapman it has too much value to them. They're not going to deal him. Plus, he lights it up at 102 and 103 miles an hour. And, Ryan, in the All-Star game, Brock Holt takes an at-bat against Aroldis Chapman, lefty on lefty in the 9th inning. He's an all-star, and he had zero chance. Then Mike Moustakas, as a favor from his manager, gets to play in the All-Star game in the 9th. And what does he get to do? He gets to hit against Aroldis Chapman left on left. It wasn't even fair.
It was scary. Absolutely scary. Love it or shove it. We have a nice special edition of that as well coming your way in just 30 seconds. But first, a word from Mahindra. Every landowner knows that you need a reliable tractor. The Mahindra Max does everything you need a tractor to do and more. The Mahindra Max is sub-compact tractor, but it's not some glorified lawnmower. It has a true heavy-duty tractor frame to take on big jobs. So whatever work you need done on your property, a bright red Mahindra tractor can get the job done. Here's the best part. When you buy a Mahindra Max or E-Max, you can get 0 interest for 84 months and Mahindra's famous 5-year warranty. Take home the world's #1 selling tractor from our good friends at Mahindra. Visit MahindraUSA.com. That's right. No Bubba today, but we do have Steve Cerruti.
What's up, guys?
How's it going?
Good.
Steve probably has the best hair at ESPN.
Thank you.
Don't you
Appreciate
think?
that. Been growing out for a while.
It's pretty good.
I mean, it's a solid coffee going on there.
I have a thought on on your hypothetical question.
Yes.
I would use it just so at the end of, I'd try to make it the team as maybe a 12th man in the NBA and just hit game-winning shots. Because what NBA team, like if you're sitting at the end of a bench, like, hey, we'll use this guy 5-6 games a year when we're down 3 or 2 or 1 to just come in and hit threes and win the game. So, like we were talking in the break, you could win 5-6 games a year just doing that.
I think that's the only shot.
Yeah.
The thing is, the team would look at you and say, who's the goofy white guy in the end of the bench with the great hair? What is he here for? And then
They'd probably leave me open.
Right, they would leave you open. They would say, boy, this is odd. And then when you got in the game, they would say, well, he must have some sort of specialty. You might be able to sneak in 3, 4, 5 game winners.
And I feel like Pop could just draw you up a play that gets you open regardless. It really is amazing. By the way, to be fair to you, Tim, Cerruti's chair is excessively high right now. I mean, who are you trying to fool, Steve?
Sorry, guys.
I mean, this is like you're on stilts over there. Yeah. But it's
I can't adjust it. Sorry, Tim, I'm not trying.
Every show we've ever done on
anyway.
baseball tonight, I've had to raise the chair. It's like a Ripken streak now. Can we raise the chair for Tim just for the show? Yeah. So don't worry. I'm used to this.
All right, Steve. What do we got?
Let's get to the first one. Mark Cuban wants to increase the number of NBA playoff teams in each conference from 8 to 10. Love it or shove it?
I would shove it. I mean, at this point, look, it's two things for me. One, it's not a huge achievement, but it would be less of an achievement to make the postseason if there's more teams in it. That's just logical. And you would devalue the regular season even more than you already have in the NBA. And then the other part of it for me is I already have teams getting into the postseason that aren't worthy of being in the playoffs. Now I'm going to have more teams. Who was missed in the playoffs this year? Did any team not make it that should have had a championship hope? No.
Did a sub-500 team make it from the East?
Yeah.
Right. Then we have to shove that because you can't have sub-500 teams in the playoffs.
Yeah, the Nets are below 500. We're the 8th seed. Yeah, can't have it. I agree. So we're both shoving it.
Easy enough. All right, second story here. A minor league baseball game was tied after 9 innings, and instead of going into extras, they decided to have a home run derby to decide the outcome and the winner. Love it or shove it?
I love that. And in fact, when the All-Star game had its tie back in 2002, my dad and I were watching the game, and that was our suggestion. Like, don't make it a tie. Just have a home run derby off. Why not? I guess you don't need the off with the home run derby. Just have a home run derby. Why not? But they didn't. They didn't do
funny because a buddy of mine has been telling me for 3 years that when you get to extra innings, which he calls excess innings, he says when you get to 12, you stop and you just have a home run derby and end it right there. And now somebody actually did that. My friend was right.
Got to propose it to the guys.
All right, Ryan Ruocco, Tim Kurkjian with Steve Cerruti doing a little love it or shove it here on Mike and Mike. What's the next one, Steve?
All right, this is a weird one. Marshawn Lynch keeps chicken wings in his socks. Love it or shove it?
Why would they? Is he eating them after?
Has he already eaten them?
He's saving them for later. He was a coach I think he's coaching a youth team, and basically some guy brought him chicken wings, and he couldn't eat them all at one time, so he stuck some in his socks and saved them for later.
No, I'm shoving this. I mean, chicken wings are great and all, but you got to be kidding me. That's your ankle, and that's a sock, and it sweats.
Sweat, yeah.
Actually, interesting story. Yesterday, I was eating in my hotel room, and my fork dropped and hit my bare foot, and I was like, can I still use the fork? And that just touched my bare foot, which had just come out of the shower for a moment. Never mind a sweaty sock as you're walking around the field, and it's just marinating against your sweat. No.
Yeah, I'm not. No, I would have clearly picked up the fork and eaten if I was all by myself in my hotel room, but I'm not going to put a chicken wing in my socks.
That's very Greeny-esque of you, by the way.
It is. Well, Greeny and I have some similarities like that, I'd have to say.
I see you.
What are we loving and shoving next?
All right, this is a good one. John Smoltz says the current Mets rotation is way better than his 90s Braves rotation. Love it or shove it?
Oh, sorry. I'm gonna shove that. It can't be true, okay? Greg Maddux is the 6th greatest pitcher of all time. Tom Glavine is a 300-game winner. John Smoltz is one of the great pitchers that we've ever seen, given starting and relieving a first-ballot Hall of Famer. When you throw in Denny Nagel and, Kevin Millwood and people like that, I love the Mets rotation, but we need to see them do it a few times before we're going to put anyone up against Maddux, Smoltz, and Glavine.
And the other part of that, Steven Matz isn't even in it right now because he's injured. You got 2 times through with those 4 guys actually in the rotation. I can't have 2 turns through the rotation mean you're the Braves. I mean, it's interesting because it comes from Smoltz, not somebody else. I think if it was anybody who wasn't a part of that rotation, we just immediately dismiss it as blasphemous. Because it's him, we give it a moment, but I'm shoving that.
Well, he's talking about pure stuff, and I get that, because pure stuff-wise, that staff is better than the Brave staff. But it's way more than stuff. It's an understanding of how to pitch, and nobody knew how to pitch better than Greg Maddux and Tom Glass.
I'll say our producer Ray definitely disagrees with that one. On that one.
And
come
he's
on
a
now.
huge Mets fan.
Yeah.
So yeah,
Mets Ray. That's his name evolved.
Mets Ray and Patriots
Yeah.
Ray. That's right.
UConn Ray, all of them.
So Rudy, what do we got?
This is the last one. This came up during the All-Star break with Rob Manfred, but baseball shortening its season. Love it or shove it.
I'm going to shove that because being the traditionalist that I am, if we go to 154 games, the whole 162-game season goes out the window, and we're going to have to refer to it now. In 154-game season, this is the first time since. Baseball is built upon those kind of stats and numbers, and if we change it, and God forbid someone were to get to 72 home runs in a season, which is not going to happen, and he doesn't get to play all 162 and break Barry Bonds' record, then we're going to have to go through that all the time. I like 162, but we have to build in a few more off days, play a doubleheader once in a while. I think we need to do that to save the wear and tear on the players.
I actually love it because I think the number one reason for the fewer games is because of what Tim just said, the rest, right? You take away 8 games, now you have 8 more off days. You're going to get more optimal performance from the players. You need to stay on the field.
On their All-Star break they were talking about.
Exactly. And now you have guys really rested up because without amphetamines, without steroids, we know these guys, they wear down. And we also know day games after night games, they struggle more. I like that for that reason. But I also like it for the records because right now, unfortunately, when it comes to the accumulation of numbers and these individual achievements, they don't jump out like they would have because everything got skewed in the steroid era, right? Like Mike Trout's an amazing player, but his amazingness isn't because of his 28 or 36 home runs. It's when you watch him play and what he does offensively, defensively within the game. If the number of games all of a sudden goes back to 154, I think it almost wipes the record book clean, and it lets you start a new history, one that doesn't have the murky waters created by the steroid era. It would take a while for to build up and have significance, and this would kind of be the generation that's laying the foundation for that. But then 20 years from now, you'll be able to look back and say, wow, this guy hit this many home runs. That's more than Mike Trout hit. Rather than right now, when somebody has a great season and you say, well, that's nowhere near what somebody did in 162 because it happened to coincide with the steroid era.
How do the players feel about it, though?
I think the players would rather play 154 games because Joe Girardi has been telling me for years that all these guys getting hurt is because we play too many games. There should be mandatory off days after 10 days. You should play no more than 10 days in a row. Everyone needs to have that because the game is not benefiting from playing so many because guys keep getting hurt. When our best players get hurt, the game hurts.
That is love it or shove it. Thank you, Cerruti.
Thanks, guys.
The best of Mike and Mike.
Mike and Mike.
And now, for Geico's edition of Stuff Found in Your Car, we go inside your side door pocket.
Hello, yes, the crumpled receipt with gum in it. From your anniversary dinner, you sprang for expensive wine, your server was Beth. That dinner was a couple $100. Money you could get back if you switched to Geico and saved hundreds of dollars on your car insurance. I bet you'd save that receipt. Frame it even. But really, where did I go wrong? Was it the corkage fee?
Geico. 15 minutes could save you 15% or more on car insurance. Visit geico.com today.
The best of Mike and Mike.
And a happy Friday morning to you. Ryan Ruocco, Tim Kurkjian in for the guys here on Mike and Mike. Presented by Progressive Insurance. Our guests come to us via the Subway Fresh Take Hotline, like Carlos Correa, the Astros' impressive young shortstop. One of the fine young athletes in all of sports. He's going to join us at 9:30 Eastern. That's coming up in just a half hour. You guys have been sending tweets all morning long, and some great ones for Tim with the hashtag #AskTim. We also have, in addition, a next question for Tim coming up shortly with some fun questions for Tim as well. As we look forward to the second half of the baseball season, Tim, which begins tonight. The trade deadline coming up. You talked about Cole Hamels, who you believe will be moved. The Dodgers was a potential good destination, you thought. What about David Price? I was just thinking about that name. Is there a chance that he's on the move because he is a free agent at the end of the year?
Yeah, there's a chance, but I think the Tigers, frankly, are in so much trouble right now that if they look ahead and they don't have David Price next year, they're going to really be in trouble. So I think they're going to find a way to get him signed. But once he gets to free agency, everything changes. So they're in trouble right now. I picked them to win the division, and I never give up on the Tigers because they always find a way. But with Miguel Cabrera hurt, Justin Verlander just not being the pitcher that he was 3-4 years ago, they've got some issues. And that's why I think they look at David Price and say, well, we've got to get him signed long term.
Now, Felipe Binda asked, The Yankees have been building a decent farm system. Do they trade away any of it at the deadline to improve?
I don't think we're going to see them trade their best kids. They have an outfielder named Aaron Judge who might be their everyday right fielder before long, and I don't see them moving him. They have a kid right-hander named Severino that everybody asks them about, and I don't think they're going to trade him either. This has been the change, Ryan, and you've seen it doing the Yankees, that they still spend an enormous amount of money, and they'll go out and give Andrew Miller what he wants in order to bring him into that bullpen, but they're not sacrificing the future of that team. And they've been doing this for several years now. Joe Girardi looked at me in the batting cage in spring training and this spring and said, wow, do we have some young players in this camp? And I've never said that before, he said. I've never seen the collection of talent that we have, and for most of them, I wouldn't hesitate to bring them up quickly this year, and we've seen that happen a couple times. So I think they're going to sit pat, make a minor deal, not a major one.
And the latest one, Rob Refsnyder, who they brought up at second base. Jeff Kelly tweets with the hashtag asked him, what's the greatest baseball movie of all time?
Well, it has to be Field of Dreams for me, because, and I'm not going to get too maudlin or corny about this, but it's about a father.
We like maudlin and we love corny.
Well,
so.
It's about a father and a son.
Yeah.
And my dad taught me and the rest of the boys in our house how to play, and nobody had a better feel for the game than my father. And that's what that movie's all about. So I love the premise of it, and I still cry at the end. I can't help it. So it's my favorite movie. I have a bunch of favorite baseball movies. That's my favorite.
What would be number two?
Well, I think the Kevin Costner movie, which I've just lost off the top of my head.
For Love of the Game?
No, plays Crash Davis.
Bull Durham?
Bull Durham.
Yeah.
How could I forget Bull Durham? Yeah. That is embarrassing. That's my second favorite movie.
Is it bad that I go to For Love of the Game before I go to Bull Durham?
Well, it's bad that I forgot Bull Durham. I've never done that before. Mr. 300 was my least favorite one.
That didn't do it for you.
The premise of that, go watch that and go watch the end of it. Oh, my gosh. I had to turn it off. It was so bad.
Did you ever see Little Big League?
I did, and I liked that more than, like, some of the other little kid movies.
What about Rookie of the Year?
I liked Little Big League much more than Rookie of the Year.
Really?
Yes.
You know what's funny? So the first time I ever heard the term cheese for a fastball was in Rookie of the Year.
Right.
When, like, I don't know if it's Henry Rowan Gardner who actually says it for the first time, but from that day forth, I started, like, if somebody's throwing really hard, I'll be like, oh, yeah, he's throwing straight cheese or whatever. And to this day, I'll use that on a broadcast. I love baseball vernacular and using the terminology that they do.
Right. 61 was a really good movie, the Billy Crystal movie.
Yes.
So Billy Crystal calls Tom Candiotti, knuckleball pitcher who had just been released, to play Hoyt Wilhelm in the movie. So he wants it to be authentic, and he says, you're in this scene, I want you to throw your very best knuckleball. So Candiotti tells me he throws 50 knuckleballs, and Tommy Jane, who's playing, I guess, Mickey Mantle, he can't put a ball in play because he's throwing this great knuckleball. Finally, he has to slow it down because Billy Crystal comes to him and says, we have a problem. It's called tape. We're running out of tape. You have to throw a pitch that he can hit. So Candiotti lowers it to about 50 miles an hour. Then he hits, accidentally, Tommy Jane with a pitch. He goes down in a heap, and like the entire crew comes out, oh, my God, you killed the star of the show. So Tommy Jane is lying there, and he looks at Candiotti, and he goes, I should get up now, shouldn't I? That shouldn't hurt this much. And he goes, get up, let's go. So Tommy Jane still couldn't put a knuckleball in play. All they needed was a ground ball down the first base line, and ultimately Billy Crystal just had to roll the ball because nobody could hit the ball off of Tom Candiotti, who was throwing a Hoyt Wilhelm knuckleball.
That's a terrific story. That is fascinating. In that movie, Barry Pepper plays Roger Maris.
Right.
Current Yankee reliever Chasen Shreve looks exactly like Barry Pepper.
Good call.
He is a dead ringer for him. So I think this is a great point that Zev Post brings up about your situation with the shot and whether or not you would take it if God comes down and says, take the shot from the top of the key. This was Tim's self-proclaimed, beyond stupid hypothetical question that we all ended up falling in love with. God says you could take a shot from the top of the key. You miss it, you never can make a shot again. You make it, you make every shot from NBA three-point line, 2 feet in back of that, and in for the rest of your life. And Zev Post says you'd win a ton of stuffed animals at a carnival.
Right.
Yeah, I mean, think about that. You could go to any carnival anywhere, and you'd nail every shot.
Right. You would win a fortune doing this because you would go challenge people for money to say, I can make 600 threes in a row, and then you would. But the problem is, after you take all their money, they're really going to get angry at you, and you're going to become this freak show, which you don't want to become. You just want to be the greatest shooter of all time. As I said, just tour the country, different gym every night, make them all, and move on to the next gym.
You're trying to avoid the freak show. I get it. I want to ask a couple quick hits here from the Ask Tim questions. Brian Wotring tweets and says, what moves, if any, will the Cardinals make in the second half?
I think they're still going to go get a first baseman to platoon because it looks like Matt Adams might be out for most of the season. I think Adam Lind makes an awful lot of sense from the Brewers. Other than that, I think their pitching is fine, and even their bullpen has struggled a little lately. I think they go get a platoon first baseman, and that's it.
How about A.J. Griffin? He says, what are the chances the White Sox find a way to the playoffs?
I'm going to say they're not going to find a way, but they're playing way better, and their pitching staff is really good right now, but they just don't score enough runs to make the playoffs. But they're in a tricky spot. Do we sell? Do we buy? Are we in it? Are we out of it? This is where the GMs earn every cent of their money right now making that decision. My guess is they're not going to give up and trade Jeff Samardzija. They're going to try to make the playoffs, and I think they're going to come up short.
Austin Hone tweets, I'm a Twins fan, but what they did in the first half, is it sustainable, or was it just a lucky streak?
It's hard to be lucky for, 90 games.
Right.
So I'm going to say they continue to play really well. They don't have enough at the end to make the playoffs, but this is an enormous step forward for the Twins, starting to win with some of those young players, Byron Buxton, Miguel Sano. They're going to be a very good team in years. But if you look at how they win, they're in the middle of the pack offensively, pitching-wise, defensively. It's almost like we're not sure how they're winning. That's hard to sustain for 162 games.
Continue to send your questions in. You can tweet at Ryan Ruocco, at Tim Kurkjian, or at Mike and Mike on the 1-800-Flowers.com Twitter feed with the hashtag AskTim. We'll continue to take your questions, getting ready for the start of the second half of the season throughout the show, or anything you want to ask Tim, because he's down for all topics. Mike and Mike reminding you that if you ever miss the show, the best of Mike and Mike podcast is available every morning on ESPNradio.com. Ryan Ruocco and Tim Kurkjian in for the guys here on ESPN Radio and on TV on ESPN News. We have a special edition of Next Question. That is coming up in 60 seconds after a word from Silvercar. Why is renting a car at the airport still such a terrible process? There's always long lines and paperwork. Then it's confusing upsells on insurance and fuel. And the worst part, the car you expect is never the one you get. Well, say goodbye to car rental hassles and say hello to Silvercar. Silvercar is the game-changing, all Audi car rental company that lets you skip the lines, avoid the hassle, and drive a spectacular silver Audi A4 for as little as $39 per day. There's no rental car roulette where you have to drive whatever's on the lot. With Silvercar, it's always a silver Audi A4. Every time. And it comes fully loaded with navigation, Wi-Fi, and Sirius at no extra charge. Best of all, no lines, no counters, no hassles. Experience car rental the way it should be with Silvercar. Go to silvercar.com and download the free app. Then enter promo code MIKE to get $50 off your first Silvercar. Go to silvercar.com, download the free app, enter promo code MIKE, and get $50 off your first Silvercar rental. Silvercar.com. Ryan Ruocco, Tim Kurkjian in for Greeny and Golic here on Mike and Mike, presented by Progressive Insurance. All of our guests come to us via the Subway Fresh Take hotline, like Astros rookie shortstop Carlos Correa, one of the bright young stars in baseball, going to join us in about 15, 20 minutes here on Mike and Mike. But it's time for another round of Next Question, Tim. You ready?
I'm ready.
All right, so here we go. Because we're really getting to know Tim Kurkjian today. Some of the
sure
crazy questions that go on in your mind and otherwise, the grammar rules that bother you, a lot of information. How about this? If you're looking to party hard for one night, which baseball team are you tagging along with?
Wow. Well, I would probably still do the Red Sox because they grow really long beards and they used to drink beer in the clubhouse. And, it's funny. Teams don't party after games anymore. John Kruk used to tell me that they used to stay in the clubhouse, eat pizza, drink beer for hours. after every game on that 93 Phillies team. Those days are over, and you just don't find these guys out all the time because it doesn't do them any good to be out.
I was talking with David Wells last week, and he was saying that's one of the things he loved about the 98 Yankees. We would just all sit around in the clubhouse, have a beer or two, hang out forever. It was that kind of bonding experience. You don't see it anymore. Not allowed anymore.
Right. Buck Showalter told me he left the clubhouse about 10 years ago in Texas, and he saw a bunch of players, 5 or 6, drinking a beer, talking about the game, and Buck said, I almost started to cry because it was such a great thing to see. That was 10 years ago. We don't get much of it anymore.
No, we don't. Taylor Swift or Katy Perry is our next question, Tim.
Again, in that whole Kanye West thing, I wasn't sure Taylor Swift, all that, but now I know. So I'm going to say Katy Perry because I was at a house this spring that she rented in Phoenix, and it's the most spectacular thing I've ever seen.
Really?
So, yeah, so I was actually in the house.
It's not about her music or her looks, it's about her house.
I don't think I know anything about her music because I've acknowledged I don't know anything about music.
Right. So,
or a lot of other things, clearly.
You can't really lose with either of those, I would have to say. Now, I find this question interesting. Who would win a game of one-on-one basketball, Tim Kurkjian or Adnan Virk?
Look, if I can't beat Adnan in one-on-one, I'm just going to jump off the top of ESPN. Adnan is one of the funniest people of all time. He's a tremendous host on Baseball Tonight.
And a proud Canadian.
And I am 22 years older than him, I believe. And boy, I refuse to talk about this. I can beat Adnan in one-on-one.
You seem confident, like really confident that you can.
I'm absolutely certain of that. And I have no reason to except for I played yesterday. I don't think Adnan did.
No, you still play a lot.
Well, I still try to play a lot.
And meanwhile today, you've now taken down athletically Buster Olney and Adnan Virk. I'm wondering who's next.
No. I didn't take anybody down. You asked me the question. I had to answer it, so I answered it. For a 5'4.5" 58-year-old man to be talking about his athletic ability is preposterous beyond words. Just try and answer the question.
We'll go to the next question. We've heard you're very particular about what notebook you use. Tell us about that.
Yeah, this is my notebook. I've used the same kind for like 11 years. It's kind of got to be this kind. So about 4 years ago, I couldn't find this notebook. They didn't sell it at any of the the stores anymore.
You always use the 150 sheet spiral,
this exact one, different colors, but this is it. So my daughter Kelly, beautiful Kelly, she sees the trouble that I have finding this notebook. So she called the Mead people, and she ordered 50 of these notebooks. So I still have an extra box at home, so I never have to go to CVS or some drugstore looking for my notebook because I still have a bunch of ones ready to go at home. And I keep these at home.
Do you keep all the used ones?
Yeah, and I keep a day-by-day book every day, which I write in every day. Who won last night? What was the final score? It takes me about a half an hour. It's my day-by-day book. I've done that every day for 25 years. I'll show it to you in the next commercial. It's really pathetic.
No, it's interesting. I have to say, now I'm not as particular with what kind of notebook, but I'm the same way with notebooks. I have, like, in my apartment, and, space in New York City isn't, bountiful, but I have these notebooks stacked up all over the place.
And we have a segment on the show I host, Baseball Tonight, on Thursday night called Empty the Notebook, and it was inspired by this notebook.
You should get a sponsorship with me.
No, I'm just
fine?
dope. That's all.
All right. And self-deprecating. Who is your favorite superhero? That's our next question.
Well, I got to think that Superman is probably the greatest because I grew up watching him, okay? And people forget the Superman show from when I was a kid. It was a great show. But I was just a little kid watching it. I mean, Superman could do anything. I've always been amused, though. They shoot at him, and bullets bounce off of him. And then the villain always throws a gun at him after he's done with the bullets. And Superman always ducks. He just had shot 40 times, and the bullets went. And then as soon as you throw a gun at him,
he has to get out of the way.
Get out of the way, yeah.
So
love Superman.
Yeah, Superman's a good one. And then finally, Tim, and for those watching on ESPN News, they're going to get to see this. Our next question is actually asking you to describe your dancing in 3 words.
Indescribably horrible, terrible. How about that?
Indescribably horrible, terrible. And if you're watching on ESPN News, you see Tim Jansen motoring around, putting up the index fingers. I mean, you got a little, you have some rhythm in the shoulders and the fingers. You got the hands, the spirit fingers a little bit, but you really specified the index as the one you let fly free on your dance moves.
Is that on TV?
It's on TV.
Can the people at home see that?
The people at home can see that.
Oh, God.
I think they're going to invite you to their weddings now.
I am so bad. I have no natural rhythm. Look how wooden I am. I have great feet, and I can't dance at all. It's embarrassing. This was Uptown Funk You Up. That's what I was dancing to. What is that? What does that mean? Is that Bruno? That's Bruno Mars. Another guy. I figured out who he was when they played this horrendous video on Baseball Tonight. Ambushed me. What was that all about?
Where did they get the video from?
My son, Jeff, 21 years old, he took that video secretly at the wedding. Can we please turn it off? He took the video secretly at the wedding, passed it to Jason Stark, who gave it to Mark Schumann, our producer, and this ended up on television in front of people. I can't believe it.
I think that is a tremendous move by Jeff. Awesome stuff. I got to say, I don't think your rhythm's as bad as you think it is. Like, you got some real direction with the way you're pointing your index fingers down at the floor with, like, this rhythmic movement, like, hey, look over there, pal. You know?
No, you need to see it in live to understand how bad I am, especially when there are other people around who know how to dance. You compare it, it's the worst.
I'll tell you what. Since I didn't get the chance to see it live, if you want...
No, I'm not getting up. No, I'm leaving the show before I dance on national TV. That is so embarrassing. I cannot believe after 3.5 hours we pulled that out. My daughter was with us on TV the other day. She's 24, and they asked her, "Is your dad that bad of a dancer?" My daughter loves me. And she goes, "He's a terrible dancer. He stinks." No,
here's your tune, Tim.
See, no,
I think your dance, you kind of were doing like you had a little bit of this going on with the left index finger, and then a little of that with the right index finger.
No 58-year-old man should be dancing to Bruno Mars or to a song with the main lyrics are Uptown Funk You Up. I ask you again, what does that mean?
I don't know.
Oh, this is so bad. My career has ended so many times.
I got to tell you, though, I think you want to dance right now. I can see the rhythm. It's starting to come out.
I'm not going to dance. I'll do anything else that you ask me to do, but I'm not going to do that in front of people. Keep in mind, I'd had 13 beers at that point also. I can't do that in my current state. No chance.
So Tim Kurkjian is not a sober dancer, but if you see him out and enjoying himself, turn on the music and you don't know what you'll get.
Oh, that was so bad.
Oh, you know what, though? Kudos to you, my friend, for having the courage. You're not the guy who sits in the chair, sulks in the corner, and watches everyone else dance. You are a participant on the dance floor, and that in itself is a victory. And I actually really believe that. I go to a wedding and I see someone unwilling to dance. Why do you want to be friends with that person?
Right.
You don't want to.
Well, I'll get up and make a fool of myself. People laugh at me apparently all the time, and that's okay too. I'm in for the laugh no matter what.
Please keep dancing, though.
I will, as long as I'm with my children and as long as there's a lot of Bud Light around.
Mike and Mike.
Carlos Correa, young shortstop for the Houston Astros, joining us on the Subway Fresh Take Hotline. Carlos, I'm just going to start there. Since Tim just gave us his philosophy, do you agree? I mean, the difference between men and women's feet, it's so stark that men should never have their feet exposed.
Yeah, it's definitely a great difference. You know, like he said, they're way more beautiful than we are. So I agree with that. I agree with him on that.
You know what? Carlos gets it. Now, you also seem to have figured out the big leagues pretty quickly, Carlos, having an outstanding start to your career with a lot of expectations. You're the #1 overall pick a couple of years ago, the first ever Puerto Rican taken #1 overall. You've come with a lot of hype. How have you been able to live up to that hype thus far?
Well, like I tell everybody, I just try to go out there and have fun, enjoy the game. You know, I work hard every single day, so you know, you just gotta be able to go out there, have fun, and be able to do what you do best, and it's just go and play the game the right way, play hard, and the talent will take care of everything. So you just gotta go out there, enjoy what you're doing, and have fun.
Carlos, how much did it help that when you came up to a contending team? So the focus was about winning, not about you being recalled. How much did that help?
Well, it helped a lot. When you're a winning team, it takes a lot of pressure out of you. You got great players in your team. We got all-stars like Altuve, Keiko. So there's not that much pressure on you because you feel like you have a pretty good team, so you don't have to put the team on your shoulders. And when you come to a team that's winning already, you just want to go out there and be able to help the team in some way and help them keep winning.
Houston Astros young shortstop Carlos Correa joining us on the Subway Fresh Take Hotline. Get to Subway for the new turkey and bacon guacamole today. Subway, eat fresh. Carlos, I was broadcasting your games against the Yankees in mid-June in Houston. A great 4-game series, a lot of competitive games. And I heard a story about you, and I wanted to know if this is true, that you actually, as a young kid, you knew you wanted to be a major leaguer. You had no doubt about that. And not only that, you wanted to be able to answer questions about what was going on in the big leagues. So you made sure to learn English at a very young age so that you'd be able to do that, and went to a specific school because of that. Is that true?
Yeah, that's very true. When I was in 3rd grade, I didn't know any English, so I go up to my dad and I'm like, we're at the ballpark. I go like, Dad, I need to learn English. I need to be able to speak by myself in the interviews and all the stuff because I want to play the big league. So I need to learn English. So he was working construction. He had 2 jobs, so he got another job, and he will be working 3 times a day. And he put me in a bilingual school, and that's when I started learning English in 4th grade. So at the end of the day, all that sacrifice paid off.
And Carlos, what kind of influence did Derek Jeter have on your career, even just you watching him on television as a kid?
He had a lot of influence on me. Growing up, I always watched him play and the way he handled himself in the field and how professional he was. Just inspired me to just try to be like him, just play the game hard, play the game the right way, and most importantly, respect the game.
Now, talking with Carlos Correa, Astro shortstop, you guys got off to an unbelievable start. The Angels have now made way in that division. You guys are hanging around, though. But, Carlos, nobody expected your team to be here at this point this season. As you guys have seen the lead in the division evaporate, have you remained confident? What's the feeling right now in your Astros clubhouse?
Oh, we're very confident. The teams go through those stretches. We had a bad road trip, our last one. But, we're pretty confident going into the second half. We have a great team. We got young guys that are hungry, and we want to win. And, you don't see jogging around the bases in our team. Everybody plays hard. Everybody respects the game. And we're just, really confident going into the second half. We got a pretty good team, and, we got that all-star break. So we're rested, and we're ready to roll.
Carlos, there's so much young talent in the game. Tim and I were talking about it earlier. And Mike Golic actually picked you as one of his 4 athletes he would have on his under 25 Mount Rushmore in all of sports right now. He would have you as the representative for baseball. I'm wondering, as you look around the big leagues of the young talent, who are the guys that when you would get a chance and you're not playing, you like to watch?
Well, the young guys I play with, I play with Byron Buxton. Obviously he's a great player and special talent. Landon McCullers is in my team. He's, I've seen him pitch since I started my professional career. Great pitcher, great teammate. And, there are a lot of guys out there that, you love to watch play, not only the young guys. I was able to play with Mike Trout and Pujols and all those guys, and it's really humbling that you were watching them on TV a couple of months back and now you're playing against them. So it's just been a great experience overall to be able to be here in the big league.
Carlos, Dallas Keuchel started in the All-Star game. What makes him such a good pitcher, and what do you think of that amazing beard he's got?
Well, first of all, he has like 5 pitches, something like that, and he hits his spots pretty much all the time. So it's really fun to play behind him because games go by really fast. So he's throwing strikes, he's hitting the spots, he barely misses, and he has a lot of pitches, and all of them works. So about his beard, it's a fantastic beard. I wish I could grow a beard like that, We love his beard. I think that's what makes him Dallas Keuchel, that beard he has. And, he's obviously a great pitcher, a great teammate, and he has a great beard as well.
So it's a perfect combination. Then, hey, Carlos, it's been a joy to watch you thus far. Continued success and best of luck the second half of the season. Thanks for the time this morning.
Thank you, and best of luck to Tim on his Uptown Funk dancing.
There you go. You saw those moves, Carlos. They're big league, right?
I saw those moves. I was saying that if our team was, can be as good as he is dancing, we'll definitely win the World Series.
That is tremendous. Thank you, Carlos.
Oh, my goodness.
This has been the best of Mike and Mike on ESPN Radio Pod Center. To hear more from Mike and Mike, log on to ESPNradio.com and become an ESPN Radio Insider.
The best of Mike and Mike.
The Boston Red Sox begin the second half with a road trip to the AL West, where they'll face Mike Trout and the LA Angels.
Dives in, and he made the catch!
First pitch is Sunday at 8 Eastern on ESPN and on ESPN Radio.